In this episode of the Tech John, we discuss OpenAI shutting down Sora, students renting smart glasses to cheat on tests, the foreign router ban here in the United States, and RAMageddon is going to get much worse before it gets any better. We got all this and more for you in episode 221 of the Tech John from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. just the two of us.
Yeah, man. Tech Light Steph has an engagement that she's wrapped up in, so she's not able to make it with us. So it's going to just be the two of us kind of holding it down. How you been, man?
Nothing's changed, man. Same old from week to week.
Yeah. So I was mentioning to you in the in the pre-show, I'm kind of liking this Mac, man. It's I see why people like it. I'm not one of those folks who's like, oh man, I can't believe I didn't switch, years ago. It's not that. It's an operating system that is allowing me to do the stuff that I do. But I'm probably going to try to make the MacBook Duo be my primary device sometime tomorrow afternoon and just see if I can't go for a couple of weeks using it and see how I like it. So far, so good. I have no reason to say I just can't use this. I do have to find me an app to allow me to have cross-platform copy and paste. Not being able to copy all of my my two-factor authentication codes, that is driving me nuts. But other than that, it's been a good experience.
And you said you're using a free app to handle something serious as two-factor authentication.
So here's the thing. To be clear on this, I have not used this free app to copy anything that I care about yet. What I am doing is I'm systematically going through like 7 different apps that were all recommended to me. And this happens to be one of the ones that was free. So no, I am not doing any copying of codes yet, but I want to get to one to where I would feel comfortable doing that. The one that I'm using right now, and I'll let it remain nameless because I haven't uninstalled it yet, but it's probably about to get up off this thing here, pretty quick and in a hurry. The ones, when I make a decision, I'll kind of just do the review on here's what I thought of the 6 or 7 that I actually tried.
All right.
So I have. Yeah, that was like, there's no way that I would be willing to copy like bank information or anything, through this, because it just does not feel like it's a great app to me.
All right, that makes sense.
But anyway, man, let's go ahead and jump into the tech. There's a bunch of tech stories that have been happening here. The first one was OpenAI shutting down Sora. Now, Sora is their social app. It's kind of like a TikTok, but for creating, I don't know, deep fakes is probably the best way to put it. And they've decided to shut this down 6 months into it. And one of the really interesting things is that they had $1 billion deal with Disney to actually license some characters and stuff like that from Disney and do some other stuff. And all that's out the window. But I want to get your take. I don't even know. Is Sora even something that you installed and tried out?
No.
Okay.
So that's number one. No. But it seems like OpenAI, like you mentioned, it ain't doing what it need to do. It's costing OpenAI too much money, even with this pending deal with Disney that would have gave them, I don't know, in the neighborhood of $1 billion as far as, like Rob said, some licensing agreement. That still wasn't enough because according to the story in TechCrunch, OpenAI or Sora was burning through money, and it wasn't making enough money, of course, because all the videos that we see on Facebook of all the people using it was probably using the free version. Meanwhile, Sora was costing OpenAI gobs and gobs and money. In addition to, some weird videos that was coming out of there, in addition to the liability issues that was coming out of people using AI to do what people use AI to do, amongst other things, that was causing some issues. And as a result, Sam Altman and them decide to pull the plug. Like you mentioned in the show notes, Sora 2, some stuff is still available, but OpenAI said, you know what? This is costing more than it's worth, so they shut it down.
The interesting thing about Sora is that when they launched it, it almost was like it was an independent company within OpenAI. They kind of ran it separately from everything. And as mentioned, it cost a lot of money. It was costing them $1,000. It was costing them $1 million a day to run this. Now, when it first came out 6 months ago, it first came out on iOS. It moved to the top of the App Store. It was one of the most downloaded apps, and it was huge. People were making all kind of deep fakes and stuff like that when it came out on iOS. A few weeks later, it came out on Android, and I did it. I downloaded it, created a few videos, created one video that I actually still have saved to my to my gallery on my phone, just because it was a good video. It was me, wearing a nice hat and nice suit walking down the street. And it actually fooled people who didn't know that little Sora logo meant that it was AI. It looked and it sounded like me. So my initial impressions of the application is like, oh, this is really cool. I went and I looked. I made exactly 10 videos on that, and I haven't logged into it since 3 weeks after I got it. So I think that was the case for a lot of folks. In fact, a lot of people were getting upset because of just all the deep fake stuff. All it took was you to upload a picture, and then you can make that picture do pretty much whatever you wanted it to do within the confines of the application. A lot of folks just didn't like that. It was costing them a ton of money. And OpenAI was also thinking that, wait a minute, Gemini has kind of leapfrogged us. A lot of folks are feeling Claude from Anthropic right now. They might be a little bit in front of us. And we're spending all of this money, all of this compute time, all of this, all of these resources, and all of this, these really good engineers spending time on this social network that, from the looks of it, is not going to be any long lasting social network. So they decided to pull the plug and got up out of there. So I can't say that I'm shocked. What I am saying is I didn't know that it was costing them so much, $1 million a day.
But like you said, just the computing power it
Yeah.
takes to generate a video, that's different. I think when we, people who are like, hey, slow down on the AI,
Hmm.
we say, oh, it's burning this much water and it's burning in this much electricity and it's burning this much compute power. I think that is attributed to the videos that AI can generate. It's different than talking to a chatbot that's going out on the internet and going within these models and providing you responses, or coaching you, or whatever the case may be, right? Yes, that does take power. But when you're talking about using a computer platform to generate a video that wasn't already a video, or generating an image that wasn't already an image, that's a whole
Yeah.
different type of power that is being sucked out of whatever natural resources that we have. So in addition to, when we say, oh, AI is taking up all this compute power, it's because of them videos. So again, I'm pretty sure that wasn't the reason why. Environmental concerns was not one of the reasons why OpenAI decided to shut Sora 2 down. But the fact that they were, like you, Rob, like you mentioned, um, expending all of this engineer coding development time for people to just make deep fakes, on top of it costing millions of dollars a day, or whatever the figure is. They're like, we could be doing something else
Hmm.
with this time and with these employees resources. So
Yeah. Costing them compute, costing them time, because it was a social network, and it just really wasn't that social. Like I said, it was something that when I first got it, I was like, man, this is really, really cool. And after 10 videos over the course of 3 weeks, I've never even thought about going and using the application again. So it's like, it wasn't something I was going to check to see what other people was doing. So I get why they were doing it. It was expensive. It wasn't making them money. It was upsetting as many people that were probably still having fun with it, that were actually using it. And they were just like, let's just let's help the environment by taking this money that we spend and go spend it someplace else.
sure,
Um, you know,
sure, that's what they meant.
that's exactly why they did it. So, Terrance, you stuck this one in here. Students are now renting smart glasses to cheat on exams. Now, I'll let you get into the story, but this seems like it would be something that would be relatively easy to catch and fix. But I'll let you go ahead and tell how folks are gaming the system with smart glasses on their tests.
Well, like I mentioned, people are. I think they mentioned. Let me just read the story. One anonymous student quoted by the nonprofit publication claims that not only does she use smart glasses to occasionally cheat on exams, but she also rents them to other students looking to do the same. Likewise, a businessman interviewed by quote unquote rest of the world who rents AI smart glasses made by Rokid and Alibaba, say that among the demographics looking to use them are, quote, students who need glasses for exams. That's the apparently the description that they put when they are requesting these glasses, who need glasses for exams. Again, I don't do crime like the rest of y'all, but that seems something that you would not put on a description for why you need glasses. But anyway, the source reportedly advertises the smart glasses as being able to answer English and math questions on popular social media sites in China. Prices for rentals reportedly range between $6 and $12 per day, depending on the model. So it looks like these users have figured out a use for these Ray-Ban AI or others, not just Ray-Ban, but all of the AI glasses that you can use to record things. But also it's got headphones, whether it be sound coming from the stems or they connect to your Bluetooth or whatever the case may be. You can seamlessly have somebody on the other end read your paper, and they can talk to you the answer, right? I'm assuming, I don't know what the inner workings are, but I'm assuming that's what they were doing. They resemble, like we all know, they resemble regular eyeglasses until effective screening and detection methods are implemented. Motivated by individuals will likely continue to exploit this technology unethically. So in addition to the previous story, people are finding ways to utilize AI using smart technology. Again, this is no different than using the internet. This is no different than using any other technology. People are going to use it for nefarious reasons. The question is the effort to advance in technology like AI, is it worth, of course, I know your answer, but I just want to put it out there anyway. Is it worth the effort when we know the responses or the possible drawbacks could be stuff like this?
So, like I said, this is an issue to me that seems like it's pretty easy to solve. Now, I will admit, it has been a minute since I've been sitting in a college class. It's been a minute since I've had to take an exam for a class. But what I do remember, if my memory serves me right, is that there were usually, the instructor or, a teaching assistant or someone that was proctoring that exam, that was walking around looking to make sure that people wouldn't use calculators if you wasn't supposed to be using calculators, that folks didn't have notes that they weren't supposed to have. If it was like, if it was a closed book test, that you didn't bring stuff to cheat in, during the test taking. It seems to me, although I will say that the Meta Ray Bans look nice, the the Oakleys look nice. They're nice looking glasses. I would just tend to question anybody that walks into my classroom, if you're about to take a test, that is wearing glasses at all. Say, hey, make sure that you understand that there are no smart glasses to be worn at all in this class. And there's always going to be the student that's going to say, but these are like my eyeglasses. I need them to see. It's like, well, you should have thought about that before you came to take your test. Bring the other glasses, bring the contacts that don't have the ability to have a camera and microphones and screens in them. I think that that's probably the thing. It's like, it's pretty easy to find somebody using a calculator. When they're using a calculator, it's pretty easy to see somebody that is wearing glasses, and you know what, go take a look to make sure that there's no light on them, or if they're doing something to obscure the light, and if they have one, or maybe their glasses didn't have a light, if they're being in use, just go check to see, are they actual smart glasses? So this seems like it is not that big of an issue. It seems like it would be something that would be relatively easy to catch. But to the second part of your question, Terrance, I do think that AI is not going anywhere. I think it's going to be here. And I think that we all would behoove ourselves and do ourselves a bit of, service for ourselves if we actually learned how to use it effectively, as compared to trying to figure out how to just get over with it, to actually use it, for, beneficial things. Because I don't think it's going to go away. To say it's going to go away is like say that Google is going to all of a sudden stop doing search, or that Facebook is all of a sudden going to stop doing, social media stuff. I think it is. This is my opinion. I think it is here. I don't think these tools are going away. Maybe LLMs won't be used tomorrow like they're used today, but I think the technology is here, and that cat is out of the bag, so to speak. So I do believe that we are going to continue to use these things. But this is one to where it's like how the proctor is like, there's got to be some you got to have some wherewithal that, hey, folks might be coming in here wearing glasses.
Well,
They
well, maybe
want
they
them.
just don't care.
Yeah.
There are some teachers out here who just don't care. So there are going to be some teachers who are proctoring exams. Either A, just don't care. I ain't getting paid enough for this. They're probably not. And also, maybe if they're not getting paid enough, maybe they getting a palms greased. Maybe
Mm.
somebody dropped them a couple hundred to $1,000 and say, "Hey, man, these are just regular glasses for your plausible deniability. These are just glasses. Now take this money and shut up." And people will.
Now I do know, I have a college student, soon to graduate, but I do have a current college student, and she's actually said that her school has instituted rules against using artificial intelligence, and one of the penalties for using it in ways that you are not permitted to use it could actually be expulsion from the school. So it seems to me like you are taking enormous risk in using something that is so easily verifiable. Like I said, you can. I haven't seen the lectures that have 1,000 students in them. That I have not seen that in a long time. I know there probably are some, but when it comes to taking tests, they usually have enough people walking around. They can kind of spot the folks that's in there, creeping basically. So I would just think that just look at folks, make sure that the lights ain't on if they are the glasses that have them, or just make sure that everybody knows when they come in, you cannot wear smart glasses in any form or fashion in doing this. Like, so there's always going to be the one student that's going to need some kind of exemption. These are only glasses I have. I broke my other glasses, and this is that. And it's like, okay, but you need to make sure they're turned off, because they all of these glasses have an off button. They can absolutely be turned off. And if it were me, if I were proctoring, I would try to make sure that if I have somebody that's got them on, that's the only glasses they have, I am making sure that those things are turned off for the entirety of the test that they're taking. Maybe I'm naive to thinking that we could scope this out, because it wouldn't be an article if folks weren't getting away with it.
People will still cheat in
Yeah.
sports when they are testing your urine for drugs. People will still, all the creative ways that you can imagine, people are still trying to cheat. Athletes are still trying to cheat
Yeah.
drug
There's
tests.
that. Not only will they cheat.
I can imagine where life finds a way, is what they said in Jurassic Park. So, I mean, I guess the question is, it's like, well, when do you get to the source of the issue? Or
Yeah.
like you said, I guess that train is not coming back to the station. So these are the things we're going to have to deal with. So all the positives are going to be
Yeah,
negatives.
there's definitely the cheating. When it comes to sports, not only do people still cheat in sports, there are people who will cheat in sports, like for, like, let's say, taking performance enhancing drugs, when they know that they're up to get tested within the next 72 hours, and they taking drugs that clear their system in 24 hours and still get caught, Paul George.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
there's always that. So let's get to this next story, man. Is the foreign-made router banned for security's sake, or is it just a shakedown? So I don't know, Terrance, if you have heard about this, but the U.S. Federal Communications Commission has banned the import and sale of all foreign-made consumer Wi-Fi routers. So going forward, if there's a new router that has not yet been certified by the FCC, is not going to be certified by the FCC, and that is basically every consumer-grade router that you can get readily here in the United States is generated, or at least it's built in part in another country. So this effectively affects almost every router, even for American companies like Linksys and Cisco and D-Link and stuff like that. This is a big issue. So what do you think here? Is the government doing this for security's sake, or do you think that this has got something more to do with, they just want you to start making these routers here? I'm not sure what the answer is. What do you think?
Well, the answer is definitely not start making routers here, because just like with anything, that's going to cost. It's going to be too costly to make, and as a result, too costly to sell. Cheap labor has long been gone. Legal cheap labor has been long since gone out of American lexicon. There are some things still made in America, but not as important as routers that we all use to connect to the internet. Routers that we all use to connect to the internet are made elsewhere. So, of course, the FCC says there's some sort of, this is response into some 2024 Salt Typhoon hack.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that,
Yeah, that was
but
actually a big hack. But here's the thing: salt typhoon was a thing. There's no question about that. But it wasn't because of the Chinese made or the Korean made or the Vietnamese made or wherever else the routers were made. It wasn't because those companies were doing something nefarious. It was all of the small businesses and all of the homes that actually installed these routers and didn't do anything to change the default settings. So they left the admin as admin and the password as 00000. So
mhm,
they didn't even have to really hack to get in. They could just kind of guess. Let's just go see. Here's what the default password is for this Linksys router. Let's go see if we can get into that. Here's the one for this D-Link router. Let's see if we can go get into that. And overwhelmingly, so many people just didn't do the basic security of changing the password, changing the admin name. Something that when you get a router, they actually there's like a sheet of instructions that comes, but there's like this one poster of instructions, and one of the first things it tells you to do is to change your password, and folks just
mhm.
aren't doing that. So the interesting thing that I see with this is that they are saying that this is for security reasons, and they point back to the Salt Typhoon hack a couple years ago, but they don't lay out any procedures on what the companies could do to ensure that the routers are safe. It is like they just jump to, we're not allowing you to sell them here anymore, but if you want to get an exemption, then you got to give us a plan with how much money you're going to spend in building a foundry here to build chips, or a factory here to build the routers, or do something. That is like the immediate jump. Now, the interesting thing is that they're not banning the routers that have already been approved. They can continue to be sold. In fact, they can continue to be shipped. So there are routers that are not yet within our borders, that are on boats that will be coming here over the next year or two, that have already been, approved by the U.S. FCC, and we will continue to be able to use those without any problems whatsoever. So the question to me is like, where's the security issue? Because if it's a security issue, you think that, well, the government would stop using them. You think that you would actually ban them and tell the citizens to stop using them for these reasons. That's not really what's happening. They're saying we're banning them because a lot of y'all didn't actually change your password and usernames and got hacked, and that was really bad a couple of years back. So now going forward, we're not going to allow anybody outside of the United States to to sell routers here without getting some kind of exemption. And that just seems weird to me. And I'm not sure what to think about this. I think that if the government is really like, we really are concerned about security and this and that and the other, they would actually tell you the things that they want these companies to do to rectify their security, shortcomings. But none of that's ever said. It's just about, in order to continue to sell routers here, you need to get an exemption. In order to get this exemption, you need to do these things that involve spending money here in the United States. Not even saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's just a weird thing when you're saying a security is the thing that you are hanging your hat on as for the reason that you're doing this. It kind of reminds me going back to last December when the federal government banned like DJI products, and they banned drones, which pretty much most consumer drones, most of them, like over half of them in the US, were created by DJI. They banned those. And but they did the same thing. It's like, we're going to allow you to continue to use the stuff that's already been approved. We'll continue to allow you to use the stuff that is even not sold yet, but has FCC approval. It's just anything new can't be used here. And what DJI is resorted to doing is actually they're suing the U.S. government for that. It's like, hey, if we're secure, tell us where we're secure so we can correct it. Just saying we can't sell here anymore when you haven't even shown us what we've done that makes us insecure is kind of problematic. So this kind of feels similar to that with the router ban. It's like, it doesn't seem like it's a security problem at all. It just seems like we really want you to make routers here in the United States. And I don't know how these companies are going to just justify that. I think that you're going to probably have some that may just stop doing business here, but that's not going to, that might be some of the smaller companies. You're not going to have a Cisco or a Linksys or D-Link that are going to say that. So it'll be interesting to see how they actually navigate through this.
Well, the bigger companies are got quotes in here. They're saying ASUS has proudly served U.S. customers since '91, the long-standing commitment to trusted innovation and strong product scrutiny. We are confident in the integrity of our supply chain and the security of our networking products. This FCC action has no impact on existing ASUS router users, software updates, and customer support. I think even Netgear says we recommend the administration and FCC for their action towards a safer digital future for Americans. Home routers and mesh systems are critical to national security and consumer protection, and today's decision is a step forward. As a U.S. founded and headquartered company with a legacy of American innovation, of course, Netgear,
Mm-hmm.
they want to make sure they say nice things. As a U.S. founded and headquartered company with a legacy of American innovation, Netgear has long invested in security first design, transparent practices, and adherence to government regulations, and we will continue to do so. And then TP Link says virtually all routers are made outside the United States, including those produced by U.S. based. Oh, wait, let me read the right statement here. Yeah, that was their statement, which means let me start over. Virtually all routers are made outside the United States, including those produced by U.S. based companies like TP Link, the company that I use, which manufactures its products in Vietnam, said TP Link spokesperson. It appears that the entire router industry will be impacted by the FCC's announcement concerning new devices not previously authorized by the FCC. TP Link is confident in the security of our supply chain, and we welcome this evaluation of the entire industry. So there's just three comments by the main or major
Mm-hmm.
router home networking equipment. So we shall see what the actual fallout is. I think this is similar to, when I say this is similar to, but the FCC is ran by this Brendan Carr guy
Mm-hmm.
who responds very quickly to suggestions or recommendations by this current administration. So the FCC putting out this notice that all routers not made in the United States will be subject to something, to me sounds like a knee-jerk reaction to somebody tapping them on the shoulder and say, hey, say this thing. Similar to how they said, hey, get Kimmel off the air. And Brendan Carr was like, all right, bet. Da, 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 and then they had to roll it all back. So this seems like this is this administration's MO to just do stuff and then see how much pushback they get. If they don't get a lot of pushback, full steam ahead. If they get a lot of pushback, they'll walk it back. They'll say, "Oh, I don't remember that," or "No, what we really meant to say was," or "You got to understand the context," or whatever the case may be. Like you said, in this case, it's just as easy to say, "Hey, end users, we have some concerns about routers that you use to connect to the network, to the internet. We have some concerns about the privacy and security. To ensure your privacy and safety, please change your password on all your routers. Make sure it's a secure password. Same way we do for phones, same thing we do with computers, same thing we do with tablets, same thing we do with other things, apps. Make sure you lock it down with this, that, and the third. Be careful. We are not responsible if you decide to purchase a router that is not made in the United States. Here's some safety and security concerns. Here's some things you can do. Keep it moving. The fact that they're not doing this means that somebody's tapped them on the shoulder and see how far they can push, if not just to be bothersome for companies that are making money on Americans outside of American soil.
I'm listening to you read those three statements from three of the rather big companies, U.S. companies, but make their stuff outside of the United States. So they are now subject to this ban. And here's what it sounded like. All right, y'all. I'm really reading between the lines. So this is the tech according to Robb right now. It's like, all right, how big is the check? When do we got to write it? And what do we got to promise that we gonna build that we can get out of probably in 18 months to 2 years?
I don't know, man. The if you could take that route, or you can always take the taco route and just wait Trump out, wait this administration out, and see if it becomes something, right? Just with the all of the quote unquote negotiations with Iran and this current battle, war, whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it, this administration will throw out a lot of absolutes and then we'll walk those absolutes back or change the trajectory of those absolutes to really meant they were affecting this and not that. So maybe companies are starting to corporations, when this administration first came in, they were like you said, what kind of check we got to write, right? Now it may be companies is like, we'll play ball, but don't really do nothing, because the FCC really, as much as they push out this, how much teeth do they have behind it, right? They can kind of they can prevent the sale of routers in the United States if they want to. But then, come a couple months from now, Americans will be like, hey man, we can't spend no money. So if money ain't being spent, this economy does not run.
So
So we'll have to wait and see who gets burnt the hardest. Will it be the companies that can hold out, or will it be the government that, when the American people start speaking, how much can you push back on them?
So it's not even that dire for consumers, at least not yet, because let's just go. This just happened last week. Let's go to everything that was FCC approved in February going back that still has not been sold yet. There is stuff that has been FCC approved that literally won't come out until the end of this year or next year. So these companies are good. If they've been selling, if there's a Linksys router at Best Buy that you want to go pick up, or one at Microsoft or whatever the case is, Target sells, whoever sells them, those things are still on the shelves. They are still able to be sold. And when they're taken off the shelves, they will be restocked with the exact same model, because those models can continue to be sold. So I think for the short term, you're right. There could be some companies that say, Taco, I want to see who flinches first and just see how they go. Now, these bigger companies that have it like that, I think that they're going to, okay, let's commit to doing this and let's write a check to just buy ourselves some time. So at the very least, we can say, hey, we're going to be building a factory here that is expected to, basically want to break ground in 2027 or 2028 or something like that. Something that they can completely get out of if they just kind of announce it now. But that's enough to ultimately give whoever wants to win a win. And it's enough for them to just buy time and be able to say, hey, we are certified. So even on our new stuff and our old stuff, you can buy all of it. We're good. I think those big companies are probably going to go that route, because they'll do the math. Does it make more sense for us to write a check here, to promise this here in a way that we can get out of it later, than it does to just do nothing? And I think they'll figure out, they'll carry the one, and they will see which side of the ledger they fall on. If writing a check makes them more money, I think that's what they'll do. So I think you're going to definitely get at least a few of the bigger ones. They're going to play ball. Just because what do Americans hear? Oh, all these foreign routers were banned. Well, Linksys, I think they are American router, even though they fall under this. Linksys, they're putting out announcements they actually have commercials. They're putting out announcements and commercials saying they're good. They're now certified. They're building a factory. I'll just go buy the Linksys when you maybe would have bought a TP-Link before. Maybe you'll just go and buy the Cisco when you would have bought a D brand before. So I think some of this is going to be resolved with a checkbook. I think a lot of companies may just say, let's just wait and see. Or some of them, like what DJI has done, is like, cool, we'll sell what we can sell in the United States, and all this hotness that the rest of the world is getting, we'll just sell it there, and we'll let the court figure it out. So that is definitely an option as well. And if I remember correctly, I don't know if you still have your drone, but you had a DJI drone, right?
I've got one and I want another one, and it won't be nothing for me to go into the store and buy a new DJI drone.
Mhm.
So again, yes, they made that announcement, but DJI's like, well, we ain't worried about it, or we'll fight it, or whatever the case may be. But they, like you mentioned, they've got years and years and years and years. Let me not say that many, maybe a year or two of inventory left up that we can still go out and buy, no problem, and it still be brand new. I'm assuming DJI is doing the number crunching and saying, okay, well, we've got 2 million products that are currently in set, that's still on shelves, and we'll monitor the inventory. When the inventory get down to some number to where they're like, all right, well, we need some more income coming in to cover this, then they'll make a bigger stink about it. But I think again, me not doing any research into this, I can still go buy a brand new
Mhm.
DJI drone right now. And I'm thinking DJI knows that. So they're like, they've got a couple more years to wait this out and see if they really got to make some
Right.
moves.
This ban, I believe, went into effect December 23rd for DJI.
Hmm.
And if I remember correctly, I think DJI, they got FCC approval on like 7 or 8 different products. One of them being the DJI Osmo Pocket 4. So one of the really hot things that DJI creates that is not a drone is a pocket, an Osmo Pocket camera. This is like the camera that's about the size of a Snicker bar, but it fits in your pocket. But it has a gimbal, the same style gimbal that goes on the drones, and they're really good cameras. And the third one has just done ridiculous numbers. And, so they're coming out with the Osmo Pocket 4. Now, the rumor is that the Osmo Pocket 4 comes out in a few weeks. It comes out, I think, like sometime in mid-April. So we're just a few weeks away from that thing coming out. So folks are saying, well, how can it come out if we've banned it? And that's because they made sure that they got their new hotness, like I said, 7-8 devices back in December. They got those things pushed to get FCC approval before the ban went into effect. So all of that new stuff just on like the cameras and microphones and stuff like that that'll be coming out this year, all that's going to come out. It'll be the stuff that is going to be coming out either the very late end of 2026 or even into 2027, because they get these things FCC approved months before they actually start to sell stuff. And here's the other part of this. The DJI Osmo Pocket 4, they were, in a situation where they were supposed to actually release this thing back in December. That was the thought. Or when it didn't hit the December release date, they thought they were going to do it in January around CES. They didn't do it then. And the thought was, you know what? We've got them. We're ready to sell them, but let's just hold off. Let's try to clear out the rest of this DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Let's try to clear out all of these Mic Mini and Mic Mini 2 DJI microphones. Let's try to clear out all the inventory that we have on stuff that we already know that we're good with. And then we'll release the new hotness a little bit later. So it just gives us some time. So instead of releasing in December, January, they're releasing in April. And I think they're going to be doing the same things with other, with other products as well, where they had like dates that maybe would have been in April or, between April and June. Those things may be coming out now between like July and September or something like that. So I wonder if you just look at the analogy, if that will kind of be the play for these router manufacturers, stuff that they actually have in the pipeline that has already received FCC approval. Do they just hold off on those devices coming out and just let the inventory that they have kind of clear? And then once that inventory is eaten up and people are saying, hey, I want the new stuff, then come out the things that are new for 2026, but have already received FCC approval and are going to be continued to be able to be sold and manufactured and shipped here to the United States. So interesting times. Like I said, I don't know what's going on here. Are we really concerned about security, which in the brief from the FCC they said nothing about, or is this the FCC saying we need a little grease money from the router makers? I don't know how to call it, and I wish that I did, but I don't. So it'll be interesting. This will definitely be a story that we come back and talk about at some point later. So Terrance, this next thing we wanted to talk about, I titled it RAMageddon is here, and it's going to get much, much worse before it gets better. So for those who don't know, when I say RAMageddon, if you have not tried to buy any consumer electronics lately, walk into your local Target or Best Buy or wherever you go to get, consumer electronics. Go take a look at Amazon and just see.
Keep mentioning Target.
Oh, I probably shouldn't be mentioning Target. Let me not mention Target.
It's on you. You can mention Target. I just know.
The thing.
I see where your head's at.
I don't even shop at Target. I don't even shop there. I just know you can get.
Y'all hear it, right?
I don't even shop there. But anyway, so Walmart. That's what I meant to say. But anyway, you can go take a look and just see what some of these drives are costing now. They are 80, 90, sometimes over 100% more than what they were literally a year ago. And the reason for this is because all the RAM right now is being sucked up by companies that are into AI. All of this AI data center build out is requiring large amounts of RAM and basically silicon. All these foundries are creating all of this stuff to go towards the AI situations. And because of that, they're not making anything for anything else. So you started to see some companies that are coming out and saying, hey, we don't have any more inventory for this year. It is, we're towards the end of March. We got one day left in March. And there are companies that are already saying, like Sony is like, well, we ain't got it, y'all. We're done doing any type of memory cards for their cameras and stuff for the rest of the year. That's insane when you think that you can't even get it anymore. It's like, let alone what the things were costing. I tried to buy not a thumb drive, but I tried to buy an SSD probably a month ago. And I remember this was my reaction because I wasn't thinking about it. I went into Best Buy, let me go pick one up. And I looked at the price and I literally verbally said, I know you lying. I actually said that in the guy, because they had it in the lockbox or whatever. The guy that pulled it out, he's like, "Man, you like the third or fourth person to say that today?" Because it's like we just ultimately just raised these prices again on these things because of how hard it is to get. So all the AI stuff that is happening around the world is now putting a strain on getting any type of RAM, any type of memory, any type of chips, basically, for anything else that needs a chip in it. And we just think, oh, that's just computers and it's just, it's just game consoles and it's just phones, but it's not. It's literally everything that runs with a computer or circuit board in it generally has some type of memory that it's harder for those companies to get the memory to build these kind of products.
Said it before, I say it again. God is sending us a message. We need to slow down on this AI because it's affecting us in ways that we had not early understood. Like, we are just using AI and we're just talking into our phones and we're helping it plan our travel, and we're helping it get some work done. It's creating all new industries, but again, at what cost, right? This is just another one of those costs that separately you say, oh man, that's messed up. But then when you add that with this thing over here with AI, you're like, oh man. So not only is it more expensive to use AI in general, it's more expensive to buy stuff, electronics, because AI is sucking up all the product over here that we don't have enough product or inventory or resources or materials over here to do this other stuff, right? On top of it having problems with damaging the environment, on top of people using it for nefarious reasons. So it's like, again, this just goes back to my original statement with AI. It's like, maybe we need to take some time and figure out what is going to be the ultimate purpose, or two or three or five things that AI solves for us. Once we figure out those things, then we go full bore into those areas, knowing that it's not, or we've understood that it's the larger effect. It's not going to be this larger effect that affects everything. Like, prices of stuff is going up because of AI. Now they're using Amazon, not Amazon. I don't want to say any names because I don't want to be I don't want to, say something that's not right. But there are grocery stores, there are online stores that are using this dynamic pricing, and they're using AI to analyze what I've bought, whether it be from that company or just in that area or in that genre of product, using all the data that I've already given AI, and they're trying to figure out the price to sell it to me. Not necessarily just the price
Mm-hmm.
of the product in general, right? They're using AI to do that. They're using AI to screen jobs for jobs. They're using AI to conduct interviews. So it's like we're all over the place, and we're having this all over the place effect, and it's having all over the place effects. So it's like, at what point do we say, all right, hmm, let's figure out a couple things that this can be useful for, and everything that's not useful for, anything that's causing larger problems, maybe we need to be more regulated, maybe we need to be more coordinated, like with all the different companies, whether it be Nvidia, whether it be all these other chip makers. Maybe we need to come with some coordination, if not regulation, because I know companies hate regulation. All right, well, either government's going to regulate you
Mm-hmm.
or the people are going to regulate you, because we ain't going to have enough money to pay for the products that you're making because AI is sucking up everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually we're going to have to come to some sort of come to Jesus moment, right? To where it's like, all right, AI is either costing us too much money, it's costing us too much resources, or it's costing us too much time, right? Which one of these things is more important that we need to use AI? Like you said, it's not going back in the bag. We're not going to just stop using it, right? What are the things that we can go support fully, versus what are some of the things we need to mature out of because it's causing all these other effects in all these other areas.
So Samsung is a ginormous maker of memory in the world. They
Hmm.
make a ton of it. Samsung, the company that makes my phone, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra.
Hmm.
Samsung Electronics, the part of the company that's making the phones, they're having issues with Samsung to get memory for their own stuff. That's how bad this crunch is. And like I said, it's only going to get worse, because here's the thing. This is a true exercise in supply and demand. The supply is dwindling down. The demand is going up. So that's allowing the manufacturers to increase the problem. But now we're getting into
increase the price.
Increase the price. Now we're getting into the realm of where, well, it doesn't matter about where we increase the price to. We just don't have any more supply. We don't have any more capacity to create more than we've already created. Because here's the other part of this. In order to build a foundry, to basically build a fabrication plant to create memory, that is a 2 to 5 year project. These are highly, highly sophisticated plants that, that they do this stuff in. I mean, they're literally, creating stuff on microscopic scale. So there's a lot of engineering that goes into just building the plant and getting all the equipment and everything that's necessary to just build a fabrication plant. So you literally have companies saying, we can't make any more memory for at least 2 to 5 years when we decide if we want to build another foundry. And the other part of the issue is that these companies are kind of gun shy. It's like, wait a minute, because just like you're saying, Terrance, that maybe we need to hold off on all this AI all the time, and let's just kind of let it settle and see where the chips are and figure out what we're going to do in a smarter way. The companies that make the RAM are doing that too, because what they don't want to do is say, you know what, we're going to take $900 million and go build a new fabrication plant. It takes them 2 to 5 years to get it done.
And we've been to change our mind on AI.
And then 3 years into it, I can give you the perfect example. There is a big hole in the ground called Intel just around the corner from the house. And if you go back 2-3 years ago, Ohio was gung-ho about Intel coming, and like their project was I believe their project, last time I looked into it, was 5 stages. And initially it'd be stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. We got to the point to where, oh man, you know what? We might as well just do stage 1, 2, and 3 right now, because everything is coming and Intel is going to come back and this and that and the other. And then things change. The administration, changes, people are not so hot about dealing with Intel. Intel has had some misses on their product. It's not just a government thing. It's an Intel thing. They've had some good news here relatively recently, but over the last few years, they have not had a lot of good news. So now you had what was, well, let's build stage 1. Oh, you know what? Maybe we add on a couple of additional stages, stage 2 and 3, to where now stage 1 is like a year and a half behind, on where it's supposed to be. Like stage 1 should be done at this point, but they've slowed everything down because, wait a minute, we've got the money from the CHIPS Act, but do we continue to put these holes in the ground to build these ginormous buildings if we don't have the people to put in them to make the product? That's kind of where we are. So,
we don't even got the product.
Yeah. So that's what a lot of companies are thinking is like, well, yeah, we could take 800 million to, 1.2, 1.3 billion dollars, and let's go build a, fabrication plant for memory, but it's going to take us 2 years. And who knows what the landscape's going to look like in 2 years. So now they're just kind of waiting, and they're doing things like, you know what, here's what we're going to do. Well, instead of building a new plant, all that consumer stuff that we were doing, we're just not going to do that anymore. We're now going to allocate that to going right towards, AI, because the AI companies, they're paying more, and that's where we're going to go. If you think about NVIDIA, I think that a lot of our listeners probably think of NVIDIA as an AI company at this point, but a lot of folks who just know the name NVIDIA, if they even know what NVIDIA does, they think, well, don't they make graphics cards for gaming systems and stuff like that? That's still what a lot of people think NVIDIA does. They haven't done
still most people. Yeah, that's still most people.
They haven't done that in years. But you have an NVIDIA that is potentially, they're debating on whether or not they actually come out with new GPUs for gamers. They could be saying, you know what? We're just not going to do that this year. The stuff that we came out with last year, y'all just keep using that. We still got some of that. We still got some of that in boxes in warehouse. Y'all just use that old stuff that we came out with last year. We're going to go ahead and make this AI money right fast. So you literally have an NVIDIA that could be setting themselves up to where they don't even release new stuff because they want to take all of that fabrication and put it towards AI. So as I said in the title to this, RAMageddon is here, and it's going to get much, much, much worse before it gets any better. Because when we think about it, if you're trying to get like that new 2027 Ford Expedition, or that Ford, Ford, whatever car you want to get, and Ford is saying, yeah, but the problem is we can't, it ain't even about charging you more for the car because of the memory we had to put in it. We just ain't got it. We don't have the memory to do these things in this car. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking of, I just watched a Dave Chappelle stand up not too long ago, and there's the one skit where he's talking about being in the what is it, the limousine in the hood, and he sees a baby out on the street, and what the thing he does is he is manually rolling down the window. I know young folks don't even know that there actually used to be this thing called a window knob. You had to roll the window down, but he was actually doing that. It's kind of making me think that now. It's like, are folks going to be willing in their cars to go back to where they can't just hit a button and the window goes down, hit a button where the door actually locks? You got to physically put a crank arm in the window to manually roll your window down, because it's too much to get the RAM to run that little micro board, or you can't even get it at all to run that little micro board.
Yep. Unintended consequences. And I don't think we as a people, who are embracing AI welcomely, are actually taking the time. I'm sure people are, scientists, I'm sure analysts, all kind of people have warned that, hey, man, we don't know exactly how adopting AI this fast is going to affect us holistically, but it's still full speed ahead. And that's what kind of bothers me, right? I've said this before. We know, we can see people have written books, people have made movies, people have made television series, right? And that's all fiction, and I get it. But at the same time, it's like we have seen a picture multiple times over, told many different ways, about if we move too fast with this technology, what could possibly happen. And all the movies I've seen, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3, they don't have no good happy ending. It'd be something terribly has happened, right? And it's like, we see it, but at the same time, it's like, well, business as usual, and people are putting out stories. Cars are getting more expensive because of the chips, and drones are more expensive because of the chips, and this and that, and everything is more expensive now because we're all pointing at this one thing. And it's like, hopefully, we are not. We see what this possibly could happen and be like, all right, let's make sure we don't end up like life imitating art, because that's what it looks like where we're going. Because again, we can't tell where this is having an effect. We'll say, hey, you need, like you said, very right, very true. You need to understand AI. You have to understand AI. But I think people take that as, I need to be on the inside, and I need to make my money, and I need to get this hustle going, but that is like, you're adding to the problem indirectly, because the more attention, the more money, more resources we're spending here, that takes away from the money, resources taken from here. And it's like, how do we find that middle? And I don't know if hopefully our society can say, all right, we can find the middle between going all bore on this and causing other issues elsewhere.
So I can give you props, because you have been consistent since we first started talking about AI a couple of years back. I ain't against it. I just ain't got to be for it right now. Let's just wait. Let's just wait and see where we are now.
It's exciting time. Go ahead.
I was going to say, now maybe what is happening here, I didn't stick this in the in our rundown, but there's a recent how do you say this, Quinnipiac, I think that's the name of the organization, Quinnipiac poll that indicates a growing fear of artificial intelligence among Americans, with 55% believing it will cause more harm than good in the United States. So that's a little different, because I think a lot of folks, AI is the next thing. It's the next internet. You have definitely not been there. I don't even think Steph and I were to that point, but I think we're actually using, okay, this is kind of cool. Let's go learn about it, talk about it on the show, that kind of thing. But there are folks who are now starting to heed the warning, and maybe it's from a self-preservation standpoint. Wait a minute, how many people got laid off for AI? Oh, wait, y'all, well, could that happen to me? Is my job in this situation? So now, according to this Quinnipiac poll, most Americans are not feeling AI like they used to. I'll just read here. It was an 11% increase since last April. Like I said, that's 55% believe that it will cause more harm than good. This apprehension is fueled by concerns that AI will reduce job opportunities. 70% of respondents said that, and will also worsen education. Nearly 2/3 said that. The public's worry is further compounded by a local opposition at 65% to new AI data centers being built near them. So it's like, you can build it, just don't build it in my situation, because what has happened. They see what's happening in Memphis. That ain't cool. It's like, there's all this AI, creating all these environmental issues that you, Terrance, pretty much every time we talk about AI, say, well, what about the environment? What about the environment? But go look at Memphis, Tennessee right now. Depending on what side of the city you live on, you really ain't trying to breathe air when it's hot and humid outside, because it's just like there's so much gas being pumped into the air from all of these gas turbines that are running these data centers for Meta and for other companies and this and that and the other. So there's a lot of folks that are kind of now saying, well, wait a minute, I don't want that that big factory pumping out all that pollution in my area. I don't want that big factory is going to suck up all the electricity, making my light bill go up in my area. I don't want that AI to displace me at my job. Folks are now starting to think about that. So I wonder how that is going to translate politically, because there are definitely some exceptions. Like, most people want gun control. We still don't have it. But there is no AI lobby, at least not yet, like there is a gun lobby. So what I'm wondering is that, are you going to see politicians stick their finger in their mouth, put it up in the wind and say, which direction are these people blowing on AI? Well, maybe we don't want to put these data centers in here because that could potentially keep me from getting elected again. Maybe we don't want to put AI here because that could displace people's jobs that actually still can vote if they're not working, and they won't vote for me, so I won't get elected again. I wonder if we're going to start to see some of this sentiment from polls like Quinnipiac actually start to change policy, or maybe even direct policy, as far as what we're going to do with AI, because it is a problem. I know we talked about this, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but trucking is the biggest industry in 28 of our 50 states. And there's no reason that AI couldn't displace literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of truck drivers in the United States for over the road stuff. Now, we still need them to get the trailers from wherever warehouse to the freeway. But once you get them on the freeway, there's AI. We actually have driverless trucks that are good enough that they can literally take a load from point A to point B without having to be manned by a person. To say that we can't do that is just disingenuous. Are we doing it? No. But can it be done? Yes. And I'm just wondering, are we starting to get to where you're going to start looking at truck drivers and say, wait a minute, you messing with my job now? You're going to start looking at, folks who work in, not just the service industry, but folks who are working in anything in front of a computer where you are not necessarily thinking, you're just, I need to do this data entry. It's like, something that is very repetitive, on the computer. Those jobs can be very, very easily, displaced. If you're not, like, say, it's one thing if you're sitting in front of a computer writing a manuscript. It's another thing if you're sitting in front of a computer taking data out of one place and putting it into somewhere else, and then running a spreadsheet or something like that. AI can be very, very effective at doing those kind of things. And I just wonder, are people going to start to look at it and say, hey, you know what? There's AI coming and taking my job. I ain't with that. There's AI coming and making my environment. Go ahead.
It ain't even that far, right? If you can't afford the stuff, you can't buy the stuff. And if AI is making stuff more expensive, you can't buy it. So who cares if whether or not a trucker is going to get displaced if there ain't no product on the truck, because can't nobody afford to buy the product. So ain't no sense in getting shipped anywhere. The trucker's out of a job anyway, on top of the company that's trying to hire the trucker to deliver the product, because ain't no product because it's too expensive. So that's what I'm talking about. Unexpected drawbacks as it comes to AI, right? If we're so focused on AI, everything, and these companies are spending all this invisible money making these investments or making these claims or making these agreements to spend all of this money on AI that ain't there, like you made the very good example about the Intel plant that never was, right? I could see companies, OpenAI, Sam Altman himself said, I want to spend $7 trillion. And then somebody asked him, well, do you have $1 trillion to spend? He got pissed. But I'm pretty sure there are companies trying to figure out how they can say, oh, we're spending this amount of money and actually go do it. And then the unintended result, meaning that if we can't get product, if AI, the production of AI is sucking up the ability to sell RAM, to sell memory, you got to think what other
Hmm.
areas that we're spending so much time and money on AI that's affecting something else. And that is good. That something else is going to have an effect on the American people, not AI directly, but AI is so expensive to make that they have to spend extra money to make these foundries and spend more money on that money is going to get trickled down to us to where the thing is more expensive. And if I can't afford it, I can't afford it. It don't matter if I'm using AI or not. I ain't got no money.
Yeah, I hope that more polls come out and at least gets the conversation started
Mhm.
about, hey, what are we going to do on this? Because I'm thinking about what's going on with Iran right now. We have a full engagement in Iran war, so to speak. We have gone to war with this state, and we didn't really think about what the ramifications are for going to war with this country that is one of the biggest countries in the world, that is actually pretty modern with their with their military in their in their technology, very modern with it. And they've basically shut down shipping lanes that is, it hasn't started having issues yet, but we will start seeing them literally in days, not weeks or months. In days, we're going to start seeing, wait a minute, that shipment didn't get here. That shipment didn't get there. We can't get this natural resource that we need that actually is in this place that we can no longer get to. It's almost like we did this thing without thinking about the unintended consequences, or in some cases, the intended consequences. We just didn't care. And I'm hoping that all of these oligarchs at the top that are, they're sitting at the top of these AI companies, the ones that kind of move that way, that they are thinking about, wait a minute, if we make everything automated and we displace everybody's job, we no longer have anyone to sell the product to. Maybe we should think about that. I would hope that
I'm
somebody
just
is at
saying.
least thinking about that.
I'm
Yeah,
just
I
saying
know.
because that's where it's
That's
going.
definitely where it's going. That's definitely where it's going.
If we can't afford it, it don't matter how knowledgeable you are in AI. If
Hmm.
you can't afford groceries, I'm not thinking about AI right
Hmm.
now.
I heard somebody say, what would happen if you literally couldn't replenish store shelves in New York City for 5 days? They didn't even go 7. They said 7 is too scary. What would happen? Let's just go 5. It's like, just anarchy and mayhem would ensue if you went 5 days to where people can't get something as basic as bread or, or
Mhm.
water or, Diet Coke, whatever it is they want. They simply can't get. Not they've got the money still. They just don't have the resource there to get it. 5 days, you literally could have governments fall. Is
And
basically
that's all I'm
what this
saying.
person was
That's
saying.
all
So
I'm
yeah,
not.
so I don't
And,
think you're far off on that.
and I'm take a word from you. I'm not anti AI, Terrence. But what I'm saying is, let's. There's a lot of unintended consequences with AI that I don't think nobody has either wanted to or actually can wrap their minds around. And my thing is, we better get started now. If we don't do it now, it's going to do it for us later.
Uh, my grandfather said this once because I was doing something stupid. I had actually got some turpentine in a little spray bottle, and I was spraying the turpentine on weeds. He's like, "Boy, that actually kills the weeds, but it kills the grass too. Maybe you should think about that."
Mhm,
So now
mhm.
you done made a project for yourself where I got to go dig up where I done spray this turpentine trying to make the dandelions wilt in the grass. To where now I got to go dig up all this and then reseed it and sod it. I remember I probably was 11 or 12. He made me do the whole project. It's like, you done killed my grass. Now you got to go repair it. And it was like,
Mhm.
you never thought about the unintended consequences of spraying turpentine on grass just to kill a dandelion.
Because the turpentine killed a
It did it.
dandelion.
It
Problem solved.
problem solved. Well, y'all, that is the bottom of the show. Before we get out of here, I do want to let folks know that, hey, if you would like to support the show, like Saray like Solar Plexus Studios. They're hanging out with us in our live stream right now because we are live streaming the show. You can support the show by heading over to patreon.com/TheTechJohn, or you can head over to thetechjohn.com/Patreon. Both of those links work. And when you get there, you're going to find multiple tiers, all of which get you access to our live streaming after party. So Terrance and I are going to end the show here in about 90 seconds. But after the show, we actually are going to go for another 20, 30 minutes in an after party where we just keep things rolling. So if you would like to support the show and allow us to bring this tech to you the way that we do, head over to thetechjohn.com/Patreon and sign up. We appreciate all those that you do. And like I said, we're going to get out of here and start hanging out in the after party here in just a few moments. So Terrance, tell folks how they can get at you.
Sure, you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am Robb Dunewood on all things, and we're also at The Tech John on all the things. So come holler at us however we holler. Until we meet again in a week's time. Peace.
Peace.